We really encourage you guys to write in the chat if something sounds interesting or if you want more clarity. Again, we welcome you to have your videos on so we can see your faces. It makes it a more intimate experience, but we also will be recording, so FYI. And okay, so joining me first tonight, we have Simone van Neerven, the founder of Rebella, and you can tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with Rebella as we progress. But anyways, you're taking on different challenges around innovation. So currently you're working as an innovation catalyst at Chanel. Previously, you were the head of digital innovation at Welling Airlines. You were a digital innovator at KLM for around 16 years. And you have this wealth of experience that we want to get into. And the way that I wanted to dissect this hour is basically into 4 parts. First, I want to hear more about your vocational trajectory. So presumably you didn't wake up, at the age of 6 and say, I want to get into digital innovation. So I think it's really exciting and important for women specifically to hear about how you got to where you are now as a leader. And then I would like to talk more about digital innovation and just to learn more about the space. A lot of ignorant questions because I don't know a lot about it, in fact. And then kind of want to learn about how you've navigated corporate space as a leader. And finally, to hear more about the future and what kind of innovation you want to get into. So I'll just say that the first time I heard about you, it was actually through the CEO and co-founder of Mountain Labs. And he was talking to me a bit about his event series. And he said that in this last time, he had the head of digital innovation speak, and she's a total rock star. And, a woman in the CEO space, you have to meet Simone. And I said, wow, okay, this person sounds really interesting. 2 months fast forward, one of our investors at CodeOp, by the way, I'm the CEO and founder of CodeOp, if no one knows that. CodeOp is an all-women coding school headquartered in Barcelona. Okay. So 2 months forward, I was at, I think it was a Visa and Payments networking event. And I was told, oh, Katrina, you have to connect with Simone while you're here. She's a total rock star. And I said, okay, where is she? And they pointed towards you. And you were speaking with 2 other women. And I was sort of awkwardly inching my way to you and like trying to find a good time to like insert myself into the conversation. And you were really well aware of your surroundings. And you saw me and you sort of gently and graciously invited me to participate in the conversation. And that really struck me. And I said, wow, there was something really inclusive about this approach. And I felt some form of solidarity there. And I think after that, I was completely sold on you and invited you to speak to our students at some point. So here you are now speaking to a wider audience. Thanks for.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. And I also want people to invite, if you have questions or anything, I'm pretty open and transparent. And if you ask something really embarrassing, I might not answer, but just you take your opportunity also to ask me anything. It's fine.
So previous to this conversation last week, I said, Simone, are there any questions off the table which I can't ask? And she's like, no, you can ask anything. If I feel awkward, I'll just say, nope, can't answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, obviously I've spent some time checking out your history on LinkedIn, and I see MBAs there. I see studies in mathematics. When you were younger, what were your goals? What did you want to get into?
Yeah, I think it's good to tell a little bit about how I was brought up, or how. So I'm from the Netherlands. I was brought up in the south part of Holland, a very small village. And my mother comes from a farmer's family and my father from a butcher's family. So really down to earth. And my mother is actually very bright, but she was not allowed to study. So she gave me all the opportunities to do whatever I wanted. When I did high school, I was a little bit rebellious because I didn't like the mainstream. So a small anecdote for that is, well, actually, I think it's interesting to tell an anecdote. When I was 4 years old, So Santa Claus came by at school. In Holland we have Sinterklaas, but Santa Claus, and he brought a present for the children. So he brought for the boys a little truck and for the girls a doll.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I have been screaming until the moment I got my truck. And I was like, why is this? So this is already funny because I was already going into like, why is this boy-girl thing going on?
Yeah.
So when I was about 16 or 17, I came home and I said to my parents, I think you need to sit down and I need to tell you something. So my parents like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I said to my parents, so I'm not sure if you know, but I'm straight. I'm not gay. So my parents looked at me like, what is this? We know. Why are you telling this? And I said, well, I think it's quite strange that people who are gay have to tell and the others not. So I already was fighting and rebellious a little bit. Then it became time to pick a study or to go to university because I wanted to explore what I could do further, and I also am lucky to have the brains to go to university. So I was very much in doubt between psychology and mathematics. So I love the human side and I'm very fascinated by humans, but I picked mathematics, and that has benefited my whole career a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, and it was it was not easy.
Yeah, what was it? I mean, were there a lot of women at this point studying mathematics in the Netherlands?
No, and it became less and less. So we started off with a bigger group, but a lot of people dropped out after the first year. And no, a lot of guys, and especially the teachers and everybody were all male. Mm-hmm. And I was also kind of social, right? So I was a female, so I was quite different. But I made some good friends over there. They helped me a lot also to understand some of the courses that I had.
Mm-hmm. Were you aware of your difference studying and having male instructors?
I was aware of it, but I was not making a big thing out of it. Actually, I think I played it a lot because I was the only girl, so I could also take advantage. If they want to do something with you, or if they want to work with you, only because you're a woman. Right. I'm also good, right?
So, right. Always doubting yourself that you're just given something because of your gender.
Yeah.
Trying to make numbers.
Yeah. And actually I had no clue what I wanted to do afterwards. It was not that I wanted to become a teacher or whatever, but I just felt like, hey, this is something and it feels good to study. Yeah, and then what happened?
Yeah. So what next? So you're studying mathematics. Where do you go with that? You don't want to teach?
No, yes and no, because I do like to transfer knowledge, but I don't like to do it in a traditional way. So, and I don't think the current school systems are good for our children, and they're not teaching what our children need to know. So I don't want to how to say that, to push or to help the current old school system.
I see.
Yeah.
So you graduated with mathematics, and then where did you go? What did you start doing?
So what happened is, during my study mathematics, I also explored the world. So I lived in Hong Kong and in Paris, and I did some courses there. So it was really nice to see a little bit of the world. I was recruited by a headhunter who recruits students, and I started to work with the Royal Dutch Mail. Not a sexy product at all, but very logistic, a lot of logistic processes. And the team I was part of was a team of mathematicians and econometrics.
Okay.
So, and we got all kind of questions from all over the company. Easy questions, but require difficult solutions. So I was building mathematical models to For instance, the sorting of posts that was sent abroad. Do we do it by hand or do we use machines? And so I built a model for that to figure out what was the best option. So that kind of stuff. So it was really fun because I liked to be in a group of people who are youngsters and who are like in a transformation from university to working life. So we had a lot of fun. Also, we had a very old school leader. And within half a year, I think half of the team left because this guy was acting to the team and to what was needed for these youngsters. So I also
around what year is this? Just want to orient myself in time.
Okay. And people start to count how old I am, right? No, it was, I think, around 2000, something like that. Okay. And then I transferred to KLM because KLM has a similar kind of team. So I loved my job, but I didn't love the company. So I went to KLM and did a similar kind of work. And then what happened is I'm quite entrepreneurial, but I never knew. I discovered that just a couple of years ago, actually. But I created my own job. So I started to walk and to talk around and I saw that in the engineering part of KLM, they needed to become a little bit more efficient, and I had some thoughts about that. So I pitched to the executive VP of that division, and he said, "I think that's a good plan. Can you build that for me, and can you come over to help me do that?" So I created my new job. Just like that, yeah.
So rather than complaining and saying this company is shit, look at what they're doing incorrectly, you noticed you had this entrepreneurial spirit in which you saw a problem and you wanted to start.
And actually, I think I did this 4 or 5 times within KLM, which it's interesting because it's a very hierarchical organization. And then you have a rebel who says, "Hey, I don't like it. I think we need to change. And by the way, I also know how to do that. And here we go." And then I get the freedom. So my last job at KLM was actually, I did this for the CEO. So I was in a very free role for the CEO of KLM. It's the current CEO. And he said, "Whatever you do, I think you're doing a good job. So go ahead."
Can you tell us a little bit about this project that you pitched and what the results were?
Yeah, I think it's good to say how I got this freedom from the CEO, because there was a project.
That's important.
Yeah, it's important, and it's a very cool story as well. I think it is one of my foundations of my working life right now, and not only my working life, but maybe also the inclusiveness that you felt. So around 2012, I was leading an analytical team, and then we got a new board of a new executive vice president for the division I was in back then. And he had an assignment, and he said, he heard stories about me, and he said, "Simone, can you help me? We need to reduce the turnaround time of an airplane." So the turnaround time is when it arrives and it has prepared to depart again. So that's cleaning, catering, passengers in, baggage in, out, fueling, and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "I have a very challenging problem here. It needs to be reduced." The times back then were the same as now, a lot of crisis, so they needed to save cost a lot. So there was no money to invest. And he said, this problem is on the board of directors table already for years, and nobody dares to do it. And I said, "Oh, but I could do it. I know. But you have to do it."
Why didn't anyone want to do it?
It was very political. There's a lot of... sometimes these kind of things are not good for your career, right? They're good for the company, but not for your career, personal career. But I don't care. I already was in a state that I don't want to be a VP or any kind of stuff, because you come in a... I don't like how big companies are treating each other. And the higher you come up, the more ego stuff is going on. And it's not really benefiting companies, I think. So I said, "I can do it, but you have to let me do it my way." And he said, yeah, of course. But he had no clue what he was saying yes to. So I said, "I want a team of people for a whole week. You're going to free them up, we're going to put them in a place where I can lead them for a whole week. And those people are the people who are actually doing the work. So no managers allowed. So I got a pilot and a cabin attendant and someone who was actually handling the luggage on the ramp. So these guys are used to work with their hands, right? Not to sit in an office.
Right.
So within a week, we put them together. We came up with a plan to reduce this turnaround time from 50 to 35 minutes. So reduced with 15 minutes. This freed up a whole aircraft. So an aircraft of 30 million euros. But that was not the biggest benefit. It was actually, we were able to fly to more destinations, better connections. And that's why the whole revenue stream grew a lot. And the European flight was making a loss. And we wanted to profit making again. So the CEO saw this. He was like, who is this? And he was also at the report out of this session. And I said, you cannot say things that are not okay for this team. They're very nervous because they have to pitch. I never told them they had to pitch. So
okay,
so he was
basically, before actually implementing the solution, they had to get the buy-in from the leaders.
Yeah, and okay. I was very clear about that. Up front, I said to the leaders, I said, give me the context, give me my playing field. And if we know this, then let me do whatever I want. And everything the team comes up with, every solution we're going to do. You're going to say yes to everything because it's within the playing field. And they were like, what? Do we need to say upfront yes to something I don't know? That's scary. Right. And I said, trust me, I can do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I did it. Yeah.
And it was done.
Yeah, that was done. And then the CEO, he was amazed because this problem had been on his table for years. Everybody was telling him it was not possible. And there this team was, no managers, just hands-on people coming together, listening, being respectful. So I created an environment where people were treating each other with a lot of respect.
And that was novel, right? To like go to the people who have the most domain knowledge about the problem and done before.
Yeah.
And so
and this super big result. So afterwards, the CEO, I sent him an email and I said, free me up, I can do cool shit for you. And he said, okay, let's do that. And then I created my own job. And what that job was is, he had an email address, which was called ceo@klm.com. And then he said to every employee, if you have an idea or anything, just mail me and it will be okay. So, and I was handling this email box. So what I was doing is like, I got an idea. I said, hey, that's nice. Let's drink coffee. So people were like, what? I send an email to the CEO. I get a response. Someone is coming by. And we were talking together about how we can implement my idea together. And then we did. So, and then with that, we saved 50 million euros. So 15 million euros with small ideas. And, yeah. And the biggest benefit was not even the cost saving, but it was the engagement of people. They felt respected. And
right. Right. Exactly. And so this kind of innovation, digital innovation, right? Is this kind of a skill set that's needed for older companies, older corporates, or is it something that's also used in startups and techs? Like, tell me a little bit about digital innovation.
For me, for me, digital and innovation are, a lot of people are using these terms, but there's also a lot of different definitions. So. Sure. For me, innovation is the small stuff, so that the things I just talked about. But innovation is also having your head in the clouds, right? So thinking about completely new concepts, business models. So when I was talking to Vueling, I provoked them by saying, hey, maybe Google is our competition and maybe we should start. Actually, it's a funny story. I said to Vueling when I started there after month 2 or 3, maybe we should invest in online conferencing or something like that, something virtual space, and everybody was laughing at me like, yeah, she's crazy. Well, I'm not sure if I was that crazy, but here we are. So innovation for me is about the small stuff and the big stuff. If you look at digital transformation, I see it's more related to that we are in an analog world and we try to make things faster and better, and that's more to the here and the now. I think it's for everybody. Yeah, yesterday I was talking to a startup who actually saw one of my talks a couple of weeks ago. He said, hey, even though we are a company of 70, we are still struggling with the innovation mindset in our team, and we're all youngsters. I was like, what? So I think it doesn't matter if it's a very small company, a big company, a young or an old company. And I think the key is to have an innovative mindset or an open mindset. Yeah,
what are the ingredients?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know Carol Dweck with the growth mindset?
Growth mindset, I'm familiar with.
Yeah. I don't know if the listeners haven't heard from her about her TED talk about fixed mindset and growth mindset. I'm a big fan of that. The growth mindset is that people are open and they're willing to learn. They take feedback as a way to grow, and they also like to see others grow. And this is what I read. This is actually how I select my team members. So when I was building my innovation team at Vueling, I looked at their mindset and do they have a growth mindset or not? And actually, I kicked someone out who was having a fixed mindset. Yeah, because I think their ego is too big to let the team flourish.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Vueling. So you were at KLM for 16 years.
Yeah.
Doing exciting work, it sounds.
Yeah.
And that is what sent you on this trajectory of doing specifically digital innovation.
Yeah. So what happened is that after you have a job where you are in a free role for the CEO, there's nothing better after that. So it was also a career-ending move, to be honest, because what happened is I helped a lot of employees with their ideas. So the employees liked it, the board of directors liked it, but the management layers were not always very happy with what I did, because they had been withholding these ideas for quite some time. So, and there I was, and I opened up the can of worms. And then also I did a creative leadership school here in Amsterdam. It was a very international, it's a very international school. And that really opened up my world and my view point on a lot of stuff. And it also helped a lot in my self-confidence. And I was really encouraged by my classmates to finally become a real entrepreneur. So it was
okay. So okay, let's unpack some of those statements there. Yeah. So creative leadership, and feeling insecure as a leader. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's although I had a lot of success within KLM and I did really a lot of cool stuff, that was not always acknowledged. And that's hard, right? So you feel that you are doing the right stuff, and you see a lot of people are super happy, and you can even motivate them.
It. No?
Yeah. But still, I think it's something with egos, and I'm not like a typical person, right? I'm a little bit rebellious, and I think differently, I act differently, but my heart is in a good place. But not everybody is able to deal with someone like me. So I felt a little bit like a misfit in the organization, and that is.
Were you pissing people off, Simone? So I have your LinkedIn profile here, no, and I wanted to bring it up because you have a line here that resonates with me. But you said, "I'm not afraid to take up big challenges and get shit done." No, that's a strong statement that I can respect. But presumably, it means that you piss a lot of people off along the way. And so, as you're becoming a leader, you know, what tools have you developed to sort of, I don't know, balance yourself or feel confident or know that you're doing the right thing? What metrics do you use?
It's good to reflect on that, because every day I think back of, did I take the right decision to quit my corporate job? And every day the voice is louder that it's a big yes. And I feel I'm in a good place, and I feel I'm in a better place every day. I also get more and more, I don't know, I don't want to be in a place where people are not being respected for who they are, where there is no room for people who think differently a little bit.
Right.
So, and what I see is that a lot of people feel this and think this, but are not vocal about it. To be shaken up a little bit. And the only way I survived during my KLM career is because I made so many good results. Because otherwise people could have said, yeah, she's crazy, we have to don't give her permission. But because I was doing crazy cool stuff, everybody's like, yeah, she's crazy, but okay,
they respect for the work you were doing.
And I had the CEO who was backing me up. That helps too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the metrics I use to see if I'm on the right track, I don't know. It's also a feeling. Sometimes I wake up and I reflect, and I'm like, am I on the right way? And this is actually, this COVID crisis time is actually a welcome time for that. You have to slow down. You have to slow down, and you don't, and you have to try not to get nuts, right? So how do you deal with that? That you can only, I think, deal with that if you are okay with yourself. And this is also the time that I'm reflecting on what kind of assignments do I want to take, where do I want to put my energy in,
right?
And yeah, and the more I see this kind of inequality in the world, the more I think I'm not sure if I want to help or serve customers who are leading companies that are not doing such good stuff in the world. So
okay,
yeah.
So with leadership, we were talking about creative leadership, and so what do you think are some of the main ingredients to being a successful leader?
Yeah, it's these past couple of months, I've been working with a group of very international people. They're all thinkers, so they're all part of the creative leadership school I'm part of. And we are exploring the topic of polarities. And I think it's very fascinating, because I think to be a real good leader in these complex times, you have to understand that there is no winning and losing, that there are polarities, and it's not one is right and the other is therefore wrong. It's about how can you make these polarities. And when I lead innovation, for me, it's like having your head in the clouds while keeping your feet on the ground. It's not one or the other, it's both. Right. And this holds for a lot of external things, but also internally, right? How far do I want to belong to a tribe, or do I want to be unique, or how do I balance that? And how so for me, I think about leadership is also about exploring these kind of tensions and how to navigate with that. And don't be too judgmental. If I am right, you are wrong. No. So that, and recently I read the book of Simone about Infinite Game. Have you already read it? Or no. I can highly recommend it to everyone. I really like it. It really opened up my eyes that companies are always talking about winning, right? But if you talk about winning, that means that there's an end, and that's an end game. Well, actually, there should not be an end game. And if you are thinking in winning and losing, means that you don't think in collaborations where both benefit.
Right.
And I think right now, if you look at the world, there is a lot of binary thinking and a lot of polarization.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. That's not a good direction.
Absolutely. So getting into some of your work at Vueling Airlines, Can you say a bit about what kind of functions your team played? So you had like engineers, you had designers, you had researchers. Did you create this team? Did you tell me about that whole experience?
I started in April 2018, and there was already a small team, and this team was all guys, engineering background, and all Spanish. And there I was, hi guys, and they were like, oh my god. And I was also like, I need to change things there and for the good. So what I did was, the first hire I did was, I don't want to say girl, a lady, woman. And she was also had a different background. She was a service designer, because what I saw in the team was it was way too much focused on tech. So I think in the first week, for instance, came to the office, and then everybody was super excited because there was a drone flying around and they were testing with the drone. And I said, hey, this is really funny, but what kind of problem are we going to solve with this? And then they felt quiet, like, I never thought about that. It's cool tech, right? Yeah. So I also felt the need that we should be much more connected to our real customers.
Right.
And customers for me are the end customer, so who was flying with Whirling, but also our colleagues. When we create innovations or solutions for colleagues, those are also the customers. So I hired Maria. It was tough for her. She had a tough time. But it's nice. She was in Amsterdam 2 days ago, so we met and we had a really nice chat.
It was tough for her because maybe she felt alienated, or what was exactly tough?
Yeah, and what happened is she's also a free spirit, a little bit like me. So she was not thinking like an engineer, who are more strict, but she was more open. And also I said to her, you should not be in the office a lot. You should also be out there. So go to the airport, go to train stations. I don't care, but where you meet customers and where you can morning early till late, because that's how we work here. I said, oh no, that's not how we work here. So they really were like, and so they were also bullying her a little bit. So I really had to protect her, or to stand up against that behavior. And not everybody in the team was there at the end, so I really had to say goodbye to her.
Right.
So I started to hire service designers. So Maria was the first, and then pretty quickly afterwards, I had a second and a third. I hired Maria was Spanish, but then I hired Mariangela. She was from Venezuela and then lived in Italy for a long time. I hired Adam, who was a guy from the UK. And then Spandana came at the end. She was from India. So I really tried to mix.
Internationalize it.
Yeah, international, but also different, how do you say that? Different skill sets, different views on life.
Yeah.
So diverse thinkers. So in the end, I had the mix of skills in my team was like techies, so who could really develop. I had service designers who were really in touch with the customer, and then I had also some people, including me, with corporate and business experience. So to corporate language, and to know how to make solutions to sell them to the corporate, right? Because not everybody knows how to do that. Right. So I think that those three skill sets are super important when you innovate.
Now, were you given problems, or did you have to find the problems?
We had to find them. Yeah, because we were also a little bit the scary team, like the innovation team. No, we are doing our own stuff. So it was also sometimes difficult to create landing spots in the business. And this is also why it was nice to have these service designers, because they're not by nature more open and connectors, and so they did a really good job to create all kind of connections within the business. And then together, we did a lot of research on the airport, right? And that's a good way to find problems.
Right.
And
So imagine, okay, Welding Airlines just gets hit with Simone, and you start building this team, and you got to go find problems. So where do you turn first? Like, what is your strategy? And is this a strategy that you've sort of fixed? It's approach that you use when you take on new projects? Like, there's some key elements there that are pretty fundamental towards innovating, or is it, case by case? Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach this new assignment?
It's also it's a combination. So it's a combination of being opportunistic. And with my experience in airlines, it was not a very new business. So I already also had some ideas about where you could make impact. So that combined with, could I make pacts with business leaders who were open for us? Because it's pretty hard to bring solutions to places where people are not open for that.
Right.
And then what we also did was, the service designers, they created service blueprints. So they draw the customer journey, they draw the operational journey, and they did that by talking to a lot of people. And then we put that on the whole wall. So if you imagine a wall like this, it was full with that, and we put it in the office. Very open, very transparent. I got into a big fight with the head of operations because of that. Because he was like, "What the fuck are you doing? And why are you opening up?" And I think that then you're on the right track, because I was not trying to say, "Hey, you are doing a shitty job."
Right.
This is the reality, and I'm here. I have a team who's very capable also to bring solutions. Right. But we have to work on the things that are real problems. And the reason why our customers are complaining is because we're not solving the problems.
Right. Right.
Very powerful method.
Yeah. So you're collecting research now, and you're posting it on the wall, looking at the operations internally and externally, looking at where customers are not happy. You're getting all these data points. You're pissing off people already. People are scared that you're going to sort of create some visibility around maybe where they're failing, so you're a threat to them. Yeah. And now, so you've got probably a list of different ideas of how you can create impact. How do you determine what's the first thing? Like, what are the metrics you're using?
Yeah. No, again, because you talk with customers and with people, you also know what are the most painful problems. And it's a product you use yourself too, right? I was living both in Barcelona and Amsterdam, so I was flying over 100 times a year. I experienced some problems myself too, and the ones who occur more often are the ones who are we should work on. So we use those, and we also looked at what are our capabilities that we have in house to quickly solve some stuff. So I had also a secret development team in Valencia. So we were also able to quickly build something. And this was also very handy to create buy-in from the organization, because the organization, they had to depend on IT for capacity. Not always easy. And there I was like, hey, but I can help you within a couple of weeks.
So you're identifying sort of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Some quick wins. Implement them. Okay.
Yeah, and implement them. And then with that, we were gaining trust, because this is the shit of today. But what we were also doing, we were also looking at the future, right? Because I think when you're in an innovation team, it's very easy to become a problem-solving team. But you also see that there are teams who are only looking at the future, and they're like the crazy people, and everybody's looking at what are they doing. But I like the combination a lot. Yeah. So we solve problems, we gain trust, and then we said, but we also created visions about the future.
Right.
And the service designers, I had also some UX UI researchers, right. and everybody was T-shaped. So everybody had much more talent than only the skill sets they had to do for their job.
Right.
So we created animations about, hey, how is the future airport experience in 2025? And we visualized that. And when we showed this to the company, they were like, this is how we look at in a couple, how it will look like when people travel in a couple of years. That was really powerful.
And here, were you also asking customers? Were you incorporating data from them on how they envision the future of travel?
Well, actually, what we often did is, you talked about Kevin that you met at Melton Lab. We always had a booth at Melton Lab. And then I said, I want in the booth to showcase some of our work, so that we can get feedback immediately from customers. And all the people who were in Melton Lab, they were youngsters flying with Vueling. So we got a lot of feedback. So for me, that was also a great way to get return on investment on an event like that. And people really liked it. They were like, so one time we even had the backlog of one of the solutions we were building, and we said it was WhatsApp. We were trying to push for WhatsApp as one of the channels for Vueling, and there was a backlog of features to be developed. And we asked our customers, which of the features do you like best, or would you want to have first? So they actually prioritized our backlog. And the funny thing is, when we brought it back to the office, people said at the office they had completely a different ranking of the backlog. I said, well, yeah. So I said, a customer asks for something else.
So in the end, whose backlog did you go with?
I think people were rebellious and we took the customers. No, but otherwise if you don't listen to your customer, you get two things. One is people, they are not going to use it, and they get pissed off because what they want is not being developed. So it's
right. But this seems like it would be a no-brainer
not a lot of people are doing this, right?
All your years of working in the corporate realm.
Because I think people find it a lot of time and effort to go maybe to an airport or to talk to your customer. It's also a little bit scary.
Yeah.
And I think people want to do things quickly, quick and dirty. While if you don't do it, then you have a lot of rework afterwards. So you're just slower if you are not talking to your customers and really listening to it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, you would think if Vueling Airlines invest in a team that focuses on digital innovation, you wouldn't be given many constraints, right? But certainly you were probably faced with constraints. Can you impart any wisdom on, and maybe even share an anecdote of how you were able to push those constraints because you're so rebellious?
Yeah. I have a very stupid example of that.
Perfect.
But, I think after years, something like that, there was a new feature in WhatsApp that you could create your own stickers. And we were playing with it in the team, and I said, but this is really funny. We should create Vueling stickers. And then if you make rebellious ones and people start to use it, it's like free PR branding. It's funny, right? So my team was like, oh my God, here we go again. But we started to create stickers, and then we hit into two departments. One was marketing and branding, and they were like, we need to design this. You cannot design it. Well, I had excellent designers in my team, but I was not allowed to design it. And then IT had to push for it, right? To implement it. So now we have stickers because we kept on pushing, and one guy in my team pushed for it every day. But now there are stickers. They are not, I wouldn't use them because they're not rebellious. They're like, I'm like
too clean for you.
Yeah. So they completely missed actually. And I think Vueling has a little bit of a rebellious branding. You could do weeks. And then I asked how many downloads do we have? And it was actually quite a lot. So I said, guys, we have a big opportunity here. We need to. No. But this is the reason why this is, I think, very exemplary of how things go in a corporate. So you have to ask permission from branding, corporate branding, marketing, and then IT has to work along. And And that is, I think, I've seen a lot of companies already where there is a lot of struggles in this field.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So around December, you finish up your project with Welling.
Well, I decided to finish because I decided to finish on April 1st, which was perfect timed. Yeah. In hindsight, perfectly timed. But yeah.
Okay. And you took on a new project in a new industry with Chanel.
No, actually, the story is a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah, because what happened is I have my own company, and when I was working at Welling, they also had some problems with. Do you just have one customer? Because then it's like a hidden contract. How do you call that in English? It feels like you are an employee, but then there's a construction for that. But they say, but you are you're external, but you are full-time working here, so it feels like you are an employee. And then we can get problems with the
like
government
around taxes, etc.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So I said, and then somehow during this discussion, I met the CIO of Chanel in July. No, it was May 2019, and he said, "Hey, I like your energy. Do you also want to help me?" And this was
just a random encounter. You're at an event. You're mingling. You're networking. Of interactions, events that can happen. So you connect with the CIO, and they say, "Wow, you seem quite badass. Come work for me."
Yeah. That's actually how it happened. And I was like, "But I have a full-time job in Barcelona." And he said, "Well, we can work around." And that's so I started to work with Chanel already during my time at Welling. It was I also like to get challenged. So all the free days I had in Spain, which were quite a lot, I used to work to be in Paris or to work for Chanel. I also worked a lot on weekends and stuff like that to make it happen. With Chanel is not a full-time assignment, but I combined it. So last Christmas I reflected a lot, and I decided to stop with Welling. Also because then I had a 2-year assignment, and it started to feel like a corporate job again. And I'm like, I didn't build my own company and found my own company to become like sort of in a corporate again.
Right.
Yeah. And I there was time for new challenges, and I had no clue because I didn't have anything else yet apart from Chanel.
Right.
But I felt like I had to jump again. Yeah.
Okay. So you jump into Chanel. It's not just makeup. It's a lot of different products, right? And so can you tell us a little bit about your projects? We can send an NDA to the audience after, or just give us a taste of about what your work there.
Yeah, so I cannot say too much because Chanel, they're a little bit more less open about this. Sure. But the things that I do is I also I can run an innovation team or build an innovation team, but I can also, one of the serves, do energy and inspiration. So what I do with Chanel, and it's in the Europe team, is also bring a lot of innovation inspiration. So to open up the minds and to create an innovative mindset. I also help them they're not as far in their innovation journey as some other companies. So I also try to help them with my practical experience, what you can do, what kind of steps you can take to start building innovation capabilities.
Right.
It's also interesting that it's because you can leverage technology, right? Within Welling, we were working with RFID to track luggage. Chanel has a lot of fashion and clothing. You can also use RFID to track that, not at the customer home, of course, but within the boutiques, because they have to know where things are, because then they can serve their customers really well in the boutique. And there's a whole logistic process, obviously, to get all this fashion to the boutiques. So you can use the same technology, right? So those kind of things I'm helping with. One thing, what I'm definitely not doing is in the world of fashion, or I'm not thinking about new fashion or products, because that's there's a whole very big team on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I try to tell them that there is a lot of stuff going on in digital fashion.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had worked in the travel industry for a long time, and you're working with engineers.
Yeah.
You're changing industry. You're coming in as a leader, working with engineers, and maybe that wasn't your background. And how do you walk in to a new industry, a new company, to sort of lead innovation without having that background? You know what I'm getting to is like, do you start doubting yourself ever? Do you have to have, you know, confidence checks every now and then?
It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I also told my client, I said, are you sure? Because you only see this part of me now, but I have always wear sneakers and jeans, and and I was also honest about that. And he was very confident. I said, no, I think you will be doing a really great job. And actually this week I have probably a new assignment, which is in the world of infrastructure. They build bridges and roads, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I going to say yes to this? Yeah. So that scares me. But I also, I've shown in the past that I can do stuff. So I like to think about Pippi Langstocking, and she has a saying which is like, I've never done that before, so I think I'm able to do it. And I really like that, and I use that a lot. And I also think about what is the biggest thing that can go wrong. What is right. And I have I have a very cool network of a lot of interesting people around me, very diverse people, and I can always fall back to that.
Super important. Obviously, we support a lot of women transition into tech. And so it means that they're not coming from a technical background and they're wanting to pursue that, which is quite intimidating, no? And you're sort of constantly doubting yourself. Is this for me? Can I do it? And so they go through this experience during the boot camp, and then they graduate the boot camp, and now they have to go into the field. And so it starts happening again.
Yeah, but you have to realize that you have something unique because you have seen the other side, and you can bring in. I see so many developers or engineers who are not really in touch with the world or with the customer, or so if you can bring that to the table, that is so important, because I see a lot of companies who are pushing and focusing more and more on tech, and they're forgetting the human side of innovation of tech. And I think all the people in your school, they all bring that. So they have actually a big benefit.
100%. So do you still at this point, so some of our instructors, I'm not going to name names, but before they start a class, and they've been developers for over 20 years, and before they start a class, more than one, they've written me and they said, would you believe it that I still feel like an imposter? And I said, yes, I would, because I hear this all the time. And it's quite fucked up, because it's like, you're never relieved of this feeling. Like a dumbass that you're not good enough, no? And maybe it's not such a negative thing in the end, because we get some kind of thrill and it pushes us forward. Do you also experience this?
Yeah, same. I have this exactly the same. I talk a lot about this with a friend of mine, because he has that feeling too. And actually, I think this is also what keeps you humble, right? Because if you don't feel like, if you don't have this feeling, your ego starts to grow, and that's I don't think good. And for me, I try to feel uncomfortable, it keeps me sharp. It keeps me sharp to deliver all the time and to make impact.
But it's not the opposite side too. It could be, well, at some point I want to like not feel like a dumbass anymore, you know. And so you don't want to stop the learning per se, but you want to start feeling confident, like you've been collecting all these ingredients.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between having this voice in your head and acting upon, listening to it and acting upon it.
Yeah,
So
100%.
have it in your head, that's fine, and then say I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And then I think if you can start to balance that, then I think it can be really healthy that you still have that. So this morning I was really, it's a small anecdote, but this morning I was really pissed off, and I commented on something on LinkedIn. There were two guys within KLM, the top of KLM, new appointments, again, two white male, and I was like, it really pissed me off, because I'm starting to get worried that these companies, big companies who have impact, they're not using their power for the good, right? And I also think that this is one of the things is because maybe there's a lack of imposter, or there's too much the ego and not like the common sense that talks to you.
100%. So is there some hobby of yours or something you eat or drink that really is conducive towards innovating, that gets the creative juices flowing, gets your head in the clouds? Is there some tools you have?
Yeah, so I have for me, I do a lot of sport because that keeps me sane. And I also know when I studied mathematics, I learned something. I learned not to be afraid of complex stuff. And I also learned to put things aside, on the side. If I didn't find the solution immediately or whatever, put it aside.
Super valuable.
Yeah. And that helps. So this is also why I do sport, because then it's in my head, but I have to reflect or whatever. And then during sport, I'm not thinking about it, but then it comes. So that's one thing I use. I like to drink kava with friends.
So that works. You believe in like beer storms. No, I remember, sometimes you think you have a good idea when you've had maybe a bottle of wine with a friend, you write it down, and next morning when you're sober, you see it's complete shit. But that doesn't mean that happens all the time.
No, and I also think that sometimes you need to think crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're not able to think crazy, then you never come up with new ideas. I think thinking out of the box and really crazy shit sometimes also makes you open up to find other ideas that are not that crazy or are realistic.
Absolutely.
One other guilty pleasure I do is I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I like to play Sudoku. But then not the normal Sudoku anymore, because I get bored with that one. But you have all kind of different ones. So I play a lot with that. So when I get stressed, or when then I get a little booklet, and then I don't do it on the computer or on my tablet, but on a
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question. A lot has happened in the last 6 months, right? Around COVID, and funny because as you were telling us a bit about envisioning what travel would look like, this was pre-COVID. Did people anticipate what it would look like when there's a pandemic unfolding? So one question is just how you think the realm of digital innovation is changing or will change as it relates to COVID.
Yeah, so I can share my Horizon 2 vision and then maybe my creation vision, Horizon 3. So Horizon 2, what I think will happen is what already was happening, is create a more frictionless journey. And what comes to that right now is touchless, right? So what I think is that people now, when they come to the airport, I see a lot of airports advertising with this, that you don't have to touch anything anymore. So you can just check in with your mobile and everything. So I think that should be improved much more, because nowadays when you travel you still have 6 apps and it's all scattered.
Yep.
So I hope that airlines will make from inspiration at home to your destination, which is not an airport but wherever you go, that makes it much more seamless. So that's one. I also think that they should extend it with the services at destination, so that you can maybe book your whatever, your meeting room or your hotel or your B&B, whatever, in one environment. I also hope that airlines are really taking up the multi-transportation solutions. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, KLM or Air France, that you can take a train when you can, and then maybe fly to the States, but that you also can take trains, and that they push for that. Mm-hmm. I hope that one of the airlines has the cojones to start offering virtual travels. If you look at what happened with the Louvre, so the Louvre is one of the best visited museums. In 2019, they had 40 million visitors, real visitors. The first 2 months of COVID, they had 10.5 million virtual visitors. So there's a market for that. So I hope that airlines are starting to realize that what they bring is not, I bring you from airport A to B, but I connect you, or I give you an experience, and that can mean different ways.
Do you think that will include virtual reality?
Yeah,
do you think
I think
see
so.
that taking off? Because I feel like, okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everybody says, no, I don't think so. But I think you see I've tracked the developments of AR and VR in these past 4 months. And everybody's going crazy in that field. So I think there's an acceleration of this technology.
Right.
And so for cities like Venice that were super overcrowded with tourists, maybe the solution is that you just go to the south of Italy or wherever you are, and then you don't go to Venice, but you travel by VR.
Oh, that would be a hard sell for me, but yeah. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
If you're in the, if you're confined to your home, there's no question, not being able to go for a walk or exercise in Barcelona. I mean, this was anxiety provoking, and so certainly it could provide you with some relief.
Yeah, and for me, it's not one or the other, right? I think it will be a mix of all kind of stuff.
Sure.
So what I was thinking about, maybe crazy thoughts, is I always have found it strange that people want to travel with luggage, check-in luggage. So why not cut the whole travel with luggage, and that you have services that you are at destination. There is a package of luggage for you waiting.
Interesting.
You can try out new stuff, but it's also very good for the environment, right? Because you save a lot of fuel because you don't have to take it, and all the logistics stuff, and then the losing of luggage and all the anxiety with that. So that's one of my crazy ideas, I think.
Did that come after a bottle of good kava with your friends?
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah, and I think it could be very interesting. I would like to see if an airline wants to try it out, or maybe even an airport, or maybe even someone else. So.
Okay.
And then one thing I was thinking about, because I did a research, I posted on LinkedIn a research about how flying looks like right now in COVID. Mm-hmm. And then it's all photos, because I'm very visual, and it's like 90 photos when you come to the airport and you travel the whole way. And it's crazy. People dress up in plastic bags, and you get disinfected 10 times. And I was reflecting on that. And then I also work in the fashion space, right? So why can we not create a suit where you travel in? And it's a suit that is intelligent, that measures your temperature, and that it shows that has clean air, it cleans your air. Maybe it even has IoT, so that you can have your boarding pass and your ID integrated. It's a crazy thought, huh? But
another good idea. I like it.
Sometimes you have to think crazy. You have astronauts already flying in suits, right? So why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that was 1 hour and 6 minutes. I think we got a lot of good, insightful nuggets from you. But I want to open it up to our participants too. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question to Simone if you would like.
Yeah. And then also checking because I'm not sure if there are some questions already that we did not address. Yeah. But I'm very open to, and for everybody who's listening, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you afterwards think I wanted to have asked that question, you're always possible to do that. No.
I think there was a question before in the chat about when you were finding that solution of how to decrease that turnover time. So there was a question about like, how exactly did you do that? What was the process?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I had to find a friend who helped me to facilitate this, because I needed to I knew it was going to be quite tough. So it was actually 4 days, from Monday till Thursday. The first day, what we did was we started with inspiration. So normally within an environment there, everybody deep dives into the content, and we said, no, we're just going to listen to some inspirational stories. It was to open up the minds of people. And then in the afternoon, we let people explain what they actually were doing, what their job was on high level, so that people started to know a little bit who was in the room. The second day was like a horrible day, because what we mapped is the current state. So there were actually 14 processes to turn around the aircraft. Every process we went through. Okay, what is the first step? What is the next? And then what are the problems? So that was really tough, and it's not nice to think in problems. So after the second day, everybody was dead. And then the third day, we started to open up and to think about solutions. And what I did was we started in the morning with the question, what would be needed to turn around in 20 minutes, just 20 minutes? And everybody was like, no, that's not possible. I said, no restrictions, come up with any idea. Everything is possible. And then they start to write a lot of ideas. And also very realistic ideas, right? It's not only crazy stuff. So, and then we built on that. So we had a way to prioritize, to figure out the 14 best solutions. We created action plans of those 14. And then on Thursday evening, we had a report out where we invited also the CEO and a lot of others, and they all came, and then the team presented. And they were so proud, and they were like a real team there. So they really supported each other. And that was also part of the success, because the team was really protecting each other, and they were, and then we got to go, because the CEO was so happy. He said, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it exactly how this team is telling it. So,
I also have another question. And this is a bit more of a personal question, because I'm assuming if you're innovative in your work, you're also innovative in your life. Like you find ways of doing things differently in your life that, are interesting. So I want to ask you, you kind of lived between Barcelona and Amsterdam for a while, right? Yeah. And nowadays in the 21st century, so many of us are leading these like distributed lives where they're so international. Our families are in one place. Where we went to university is another place. We have friends all over the world. We might partially live in different places. So I just wanted to ask you about what is it like living a distributed life, and how do you manage living in more than one location?
Yeah, because I had also Paris in between, but that was on the way. So when I was 13, I said to my parents, I don't want children. And my parents said, yeah, you're young. And so I think they still think that I get children. But so for me, the reason why I say this is this helps me a lot to live a flexible life. And I don't think I could have done, or I could live this life if I would have a whole family over here. So that helps. I have had a big struggle with this decision, because my parents were a little bit disappointed with this. So that was not easy. So this also has reflected on the relationship with my parents for some time. But what I did was I have passion for my work. So for me, going to events like Melton Lab or give a talk at CodeOp school, I also enjoy that a lot. So I get a lot of energy out of that and meet very interesting people. So that is nice. I have some friends from Barcelona. So what I didn't do was invest in a lot of deep relationships, but just a few. And I have the same here in Amsterdam. So that's how I try to cope. Yeah, and sometimes it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, my brother lives in the US, and thank God he has a son. So at least there are some grandchildren in the family. But it's also hard to connect with him, right? Because he's far away and he lives also his own life. So.
I have a question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when you were telling your story, it sounded like you'd managed to influence within organizations by building relationships with the CEO. And I just wondered if you had any kind of top tips for how you made those relationships work.
Yeah. I think it helps a lot when you create value. So for me within KLM, when you do a project that saves millions of dollars, that helps a lot. And what I also did was, I don't care who I talk to. So if it's the CEO or someone middle management or someone who is even deeper in the organization, I treat everybody the same. And people notice when you're authentic. So that means that you also get a lot of support from a lot of people because they know that you show a little bit of your cojones, right? That you show that you are fighting for them. So they help you also along the way. That helped me a lot. So when I was in my last job and I was realizing the ideas of employees, I had also my touch points of people who were like, "Oh, we need to do it quickly. Yeah, I can help." And that was because I had a large network of people who wanted to join the rebellious movement. That helps too, also. Anyone else?
Hi, Simone. Hi, everyone. Thank you, ladies, for this event. It's been very inspiring. I really like it. I'm Nuria Aguado from Spain too, and I want to know. It's not the previous question was more on the bright side, how you talk to a CEO. I was thinking more on the downside of the question, how you talk to white males when they are, because I always have and maybe it's more like a coaching question or something, because I really have a hard time when I'm talking to these kind of white dudes who are so close-minded and they want to treat you like you are like a woman, in the worst in the worst sense of the word. So I'm pretty rebellious too, and I have a strong opinion, so I don't shut myself, and I try to make constructive answers and everything, and I work a lot on myself about that. But I still am struggling with that because, maybe it's not a straightforward answer because life is unfair, and we all know that. But if you got any tip when you have had struggled previously with some sort of situations like that, how do you manage when you feel like you're not taken seriously or they are passing over you in some way?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm not sure if I'm the best person to give you advice on this because I struggle with this too. And one day I'm better at it than other days. Normally what I do is I was not pursuing a career in, or how do you say that, in climbing the ladder. I decided pretty early on that I was like, I don't care. So that made made it very easy for me that I never feel competition with anyone. That helps me a lot to just be myself and to think like my inner, how do you say that? My inner compass is well developed. I know that by now. So I try to navigate on that, and I try not to get insecure because of someone's trying me to make insecure. I'm not sure if I have real good tips. I think the tips are not like how do you change your own behavior so that you tune into someone else better. I think the tips are more like don't get it too much into you, how others are treating you, and just be yourself and don't try to fight it too much, because the more you fight, the more punches you get back. And if you just try to let it slip away, or I just slide it, or then they can also do not.
Yeah.
So I think that is, I think, the way I do it. And what I do is so this today I posted something on LinkedIn that was just to show to the world that I'm not okay with what happens. So I do speak out, but sometimes it's not directly in the face, because when you do that with these kind of people, you get a punch back. So
Always, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there's no use to do that, and you will not accomplish anything with that, because they are not open for this kind of thing. It's just, how do you say it? It's just a confirmation for them that you are a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just let it go.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's tough, but just be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's tough, but it's good to share. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but what I try to do is try to help as many women as I can. Small things, big things. Today someone texted me, hey, I'm struggling. How can I help you? I just talked to a company. Maybe this is a nice company for you. I think it's time for you to leave. So if I can help someone like that, I think we need to help each other a little bit more and stop the fighting amongst women. And we should help each other.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, again, thanks, Simone, for joining us this evening. Maybe just one last question for you to close with. I think that you've done a really exceptional job at creating your own work, creating your own job, continuing to pursue a field that keeps you excited, keeps you engaged, allows you to sort of align with your values. I mean, this last question, for example, there comes a point too in which you take a step back and you realize maybe this environment isn't supportive and it's a waste of your fucking time, and you leave, And so for me, you're an incredible example of just carving out your own space in a world that wasn't necessarily built for you, right? And so I think many of us are on that journey. Do you have any nuggets to impart on what you think could help us? I mean, I think you've touched a bit upon that in this last question, especially about, being yourself, having a network of friends and women supporting one another. You can support one person one day and that person supports you, a couple of years. There's this reciprocity that you're constantly cultivating. But yeah, there is a fear when you're trying to create your own profession that it will never manifest, right? And so where do you derive faith from, for example?
So I think two things. You have to be one, and this is interesting because it's maybe a nice polarity to manage. You have to be very persistent, but you also have to be flexible. So persistent in that, believe in yourself and that you're on the right track. Flexible in the way that if what you do doesn't resonate, that you are able to change
Right.
Maybe not change 180 degrees, but maybe to adjust a little bit so that it resonates better with your customers or future customers. And I think it's navigating between the two of that. I also think that I have good days and bad days, right? So I have days that I'm like, oh my God, why did I found this my own company? And why? Because, and then the day after, that feeling is gone. And I'm like, okay, yes, I'm in the right direction. So be also okay with that. I think this is life, right? You have ups and downs. You have good days and better and bad days. No, and I think, and this is, I never understood. No, I never really felt it, but you read a lot that if you reach your passion or your purpose, your own purpose, you are in a good space, and then you can do anything. And I was always like, yeah. But actually, I think I'm starting to get there. So you have to do something that really makes you happy and that gives you energy. Because if you do stuff where your energy runs out, even if it's slowly, it wears you out, right? You get so tired. So you have to find things that energizes you.
Yeah. Perfect. That resonates with me 100%. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks to you all for listening in. This was recorded, so you can have access to the conversation on CodeOp's YouTube channel. But anyways, thanks all for being here, and we hope to see you at our next event. I think, in fact, we have one next week with entrepreneurs from Kenya who are doing super interesting innovation around rural solutions. So thanks all again. Take good care.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and great that everybody is there. Yeah.
Great. Bye.